Good evening, everybody. Welcome to round 6 of the Sigma GT Challenge. Tonight, our drivers are going to the Temple of Speed. We're going to Monza in Italy. First up tonight, we've got the AM lobby. We've got 7 of them joining us tonight. Let's go ahead and run down the grid, see who's going to be racing here tonight for an hour around Monza. First up, we've got Jesse Salas, first one coming out of the pits here. We've got Flying Fox Racing's Tom the Tech. He's following right behind Orfano there, having himself a bit of a moment as he gets ready to come up to Del Raggia. And right behind him, we've got Flying Fox Racing's Ridge Raider as well. Orfano goes ahead and gets the car pointed in the right direction. He's going to keep going on his out lap here. We're doing his 10 minutes for qualifying tonight. Go ahead and set the grid order here. Let's finish up the rest of our drivers here. We've got Victory Pace Racing's Chip Reese coming in, and we've also got Rick James in the Haltech Mercedes. Let's go ahead and hop on board with Jesse. Here's the one out in front coming out of the pits first. This is the first one to start a hot lap here. Kind of get an idea of what kind of times our AM driver is going to be laying down tonight. Who are you all rooting for, everybody? Put it down in the chat below. If you haven't hit that follow button yet, we are on a follower push, so go ahead and hit that button as well. Don't forget, tonight's racing is sponsored by Six Sigma Sim Racing. Huge shout out for them, giving us some great prizes here to give out to our podium winners at the beginning of the season tonight. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out their website. Just put it down there in the chat below. Do me a big solid. So Jesse, first one across the line. He's going to be the first one to start his hot lap here as he gets ready to come up to the Rettifio. Hard on the anchors for this one. Very slow corner through this chicane. If you get it just wrong, you will end up in the sand trap over there, just like Max and Hamilton did a few years ago. Close behind him, we got Tom the Tech, and then right behind there, we've got Brooks, who we forgot to introduce earlier. Sorry about that. There's Skirb. Brooks making his way up the leaderboards in the points here. Doing a fantastic job driving that 911 around all these tracks. First time driver for Gran Turismo as well, doing a banger job. Can't wait to see what kind of future holds for him if he keeps at it there. Top on board with Jesse here. Jesse coming around the first of the Lesmo corners there. He gets ready, comes up to Lesmo 2. Keeps it clean, keeps it tidy. Not far behind there. Brooks right on his bumper. Maybe hoping to catch a little bit of slipstream there. Go ahead and hop on board again with Jesse as he gets ready to come through Ascari now. Another corner, as you can see, another corner. If you don't keep it tidy and just perfect, it will throw the car off. And Jesse managing to hold on, keeping the car pointed in the right direction as he comes up to Parabolica now. Jesse a little bit wide there. Tires might be just a little bit cold. Manages to hold on, bring it back into the apex here. So Jesse, the first one across the line in the first hot laps. He's going to set down a 150.8. Tom Batek not far behind now. He sets himself a 148.6. Brooks a 149.4. Ridge Raider setting himself a 150.3. That's going to be good enough for third place. Brooks making his way up into second place now, barely a second behind off of Tom the Tech. Same goes for Ridge Raider, barely a second, separating him and Brooks. Jesse getting knocked down into fourth. So, ooh, a little bit of drama there. It looks like that could have been Ridge Raider who got it wrong there as he got ready to come up to the Rettifio. Got Orfano right in the slipstream there. Orfano setting a 150.9 for his first lap as he gets to try to take an outside line along Ridge Raider here after qualifying. Looks like he's going to go ahead and back off a little bit, give Ridge a little bit of room so he can do a little bit better hot lap here. Rick James set a 151.2. It's going to be good enough for 6th place right now. And Chip Reese, the 151.6. Very close lap times from all the drivers here tonight. Qualifying barely halfway over now as you get ready to cross over into the 5-minute mark. And Chip Reese gets it wrong as he comes out of the first Lesmo, touches the gravel, picks up a little bit of front end damage there. He's going to have to write this lap off and give it a go on the next one. And it looks like Jesse picks himself up a half-second penalty along the way as well with track limits here. Also going to have to write off his lap and try again. So Tom Batek out in front with that 148.6 for right now. Brooks hot on his tail with a 149.4. Stay on board with Brooks here, see if he's going to improve on his previous lap time or not. Both drivers come out of Parabolica. So 149.1, not going to be good enough to knock Tom off of the pole, but it is going to be enough to start making him sweat a little bit there. Tom still with that 149, or that 148.6, I'm sorry, is his fast lap time, not able to improve there. Jesse getting a little bit sideways, Tom getting a little bit sideways as well as both of them come out of the Retfio. Boy, a lot of close side-by-side driving throughout the qualifying here. I wonder if the guys realize the race doesn't start for another 3.5 minutes here, but as long as they keep it clean, we're not going to say too much here. So you got Tom the Tech sitting out in front again with the pole position with 148.6. Brooks hot on his tail with 149.1. Ridge Raider with a 150.3. He's got a little bit of work to do, but he is taking nearly a half second off of his previous lap time here. Let's stay on board with him in the Flying Fox McLaren and see what kind of improvements he's going to be able to make along the way as he comes out of the Delaraggia and into the first of the Lesmos. Nice and tidy into the apex, runs it out to the curb. Clean through the Lesmo corners, just gets ready to barrel his way up to Ascari. Orfano not far behind. Orfano sitting in 6th right now. Still 3 minutes yet to go on this qualifier. So still a half second up for Ridge Raider. It's not going to be good enough to take it away from Brooks. Brooks running over a second ahead now, the 1.2 second gap between him and Ridge. Ridge Raider through Parabolica. Let's see if he's going to improve on his lap time here. Kept the clean lines on the power early. Holds it to the inside here. Does knock a little bit of time off. Only going to be about 3/10 or so. It's not going to be good enough to knock Brooks off. Brooks still with that 149.1 with that flyer of a lap. Right on the back of Jesse there. Checking in, 148.6, still the fast lap for Tom, picking up a couple of track limit penalties there. More than likely getting it wrong through the Rettifilia at the beginning of the track. 149.1, still Brooks' best. 150 flat now for Ridge Raider, creeping his way. Ooh, Rick James now coming in with 149.9. It's going to be good enough to knock Ridge off of 3rd place. So Ridge Raider now down in 4th with that 150 flat. Jesse, 150.8, good enough for 5th. Orfano still in 6th at 150.9, not too far off of Jesse there. And Chip Reese, still no lap time for Chip Reese, having a little bit of issue with Temple of Speed here, it looks like. I know he'll be able to pull it together here. He'll be able to put out a banger of a lap here for us. But Tom's going to have to serve that 1 second penalty as he comes out of Ascari and up to Parabolica. Penalty line there. Lisa gets a cookie. Jesse running a little bit wide there through Parabolica. Tom keeping a little bit cleaner there. Run back on board with Tom real quick. Any improvement for him? No improvement for him. Jesse still sitting in 5th place. Brooks still in 2nd. Rick James making his way up into 3rd with that 149.9. Rick coming out of Ascari. Let's see if he's going to set any kind of better lap time here. Rick keeping it tidy through Parabolica. Coming out of the corner, getting ready to come up through the start-finish line now. Let's see what kind of time he's got. Not able to improve the 150.8, nearly a second off of his previous lap time. But he crosses just in time. Ooh, he decides to go and give up for it there. Final lap's not going to be able to be completed. Tom and Jesse here, looking like they're still having a little bit of a moment between themselves. Tom out in front, still sitting on pole with that 48.6, the flyer that he set on his first hot lap there. Jesse picking up that half-second penalty along the way. He's going to have to serve that when he comes out of Scary here. Coming out of Ascari in the background there. So final laps for all the drivers here. Jesse going super wide there through Parabolica, manages to hold on, pull the car back in the right direction again. Orfano knocking Jesse down into 6th, making his way up into 5th. So Jesse with a 52 flat. He's going to go ahead and settle for 6th there. Coming across the line now. 150.8. Close but no cigar. Less than 2/10 separating him and Rick James. Got Ridge Raider crossing the line. He's going to start in 3rd. Tom Batek getting knocked down into 2nd place by Skirb. Brooks sitting with provisional pole. Anybody else left to finish? It doesn't look like it. So Brooks is going to be our pole position point winner here tonight. We got Tom Patek down in 2nd place. Flying Fox Racing's Ridge Raider is going to be starting in 3rd. He's going to be starting in the 2nd row alongside Rick James there in the Haltech Mercedes. We got Orfano in the 911. He's going to be starting in 5th. And Jesse also in the 911 in 6th. And we've got Chip Reese rounding out our grid tonight. He's going to be starting in 7th. Folks, we're going to take a quick break after that banger of a qualifier to get this race started. So we'll be right back in just a few. Yes, here we go. 1 hour at Monza. We've got 7 on the grid tonight. 5 lights on when the lights are out. These guys will be off. False starts will be penalized, as it says there on the screen. So let's hope nobody mecks it up tonight. So we're off, and it looks like Brooks gets himself a fantastic start. Ridge Raider hot on his tail, trying to make his way up into 2nd place. He's going to come alongside Tom there as both drivers try to fight for positions. Get ready to come up to the Red Fio now. Ridge Raider making his way through the field there. He's going to go along the outside line and have to get hard on the brakes with the Red Field. He is going to move up into 2nd place, though. Brooks getting knocked down into 3rd. Tom making his way out into P1. Got Rick James in P4, Jesse in P5, Chip Reese is in P6, and Orfano getting knocked down into P7. Heading back on board with Tom the Tech, putting a little bit of distance between himself and Ridge Raider now as all the drivers come up through Curva Grande up to the De La Roja corner now. Tom keeping it clean. Ridge Raider flying through there, trying to close the gap between himself and Tom. We still have Brooks down there hot on everybody's tail. Looks like we've got Rick James and Jesse going to have a little bit of a battle here for 4th place. Less than a half second separating these drivers now. Orfano getting it wrong back there to the first of Lesmos, pushing him just a little bit wide, manages to get the car back on track, pointed in the right direction. You can see him get a little bit sideways there. He tries to get the dirt off the tires. Puts a little bit of distance between himself and Chip Reese. Chip Reese down in 6th, trying to get a little bit of slipstream to pull back up to Rick James right now. Rick James with 1.2 second gap between himself and Chip Reese right now. So Orfano getting knocked down into 7th. All drivers staying pretty well packed up now as they come through Ascari. Tom still sitting out in front. Ridge Raider still sitting in 2nd. Brooks still sitting in 3rd place right now. 2 seconds separating all 3 drivers. Rick James hot on the tail of Jesse. He's just picking up a little bit of slipstream. All the drivers coming through the Parabolica. And Rick James going wide through Parabolica. Keeps it on track, pointed in the right direction. Is going to lose that gap between himself and Jesse. Jesse getting himself a little bit of breathing room now. 1.5 seconds in growing between himself and Rick James. Ooh, we're going to hop on board with Brooks here. Brooks making a move along the inside as all the drivers come up to the Red Fio. He's going to have the inside line for the first half, but he's going to be able to make his way up into 2nd place and hold it. He is. You see in the mirrors right there down the bottom of your screen. Ridge Raider in the mirror. Looks like he's putting himself a half-second gap on him. A great job through the Red Fio from Skirb. Taking over 2nd place after getting knocked down from pole. Start of the race here. Ridge Raider going to have to settle for 3rd place for right now. Hop back on board into the slipstream of Skirb and have another go at it. Jesse in 4th place now, trying to close the gap between himself and Ridge Raider, enjoying a comfortable gap between himself and Rick James. Rick James getting it wrong on Parabolica on the previous lap. And here we go, we got Orfano making a move along the inside of Chip Reese there. Orfano not able to keep it clean through the Della Raja. Chip Reese able to hold on along the outside there as both drivers come through. I'm doing it for you, Sweaty. But Chip Reese gets it wrong coming out of the first Lesmo there. It's going to give Orfano a clean pass, take his way back up into 6th. And he comes out of Lesmo 2 nice and clean. And Chip Reese getting knocked down into 7th. Tom Tech going a little bit wide there coming out of Ascari. Manages to hold on. He is losing a little bit of time though between himself and Brooks. Brooks absolutely pushing that 911. Both drivers coming into Parabolica now. And Brooks closing the gap on Tom the Tech now. Less than a second separating these drivers as both of them cross the start-finish line here. Brooks taking over the fastest lap for right now as well with that 150 flat. Brooks still trying to close the gap here. We're going to stay on board with both of these guys as they come up to the Rettifio now. Both of them keeping it clean. Tom maybe going just a little bit wider there, and that shows in the Delta 8 tenths, dropping down to 6 tenths and dropping further as Brooks slides into the slipstream of Tom Tech as they come around Curva Grande and up to the Della Raja. Jesse picking up a 1 second penalty, which is a shame. He's sitting right on the bumper of Ridge Raider there. He's still going to make a move along the inside there as they come up to Della Raja now. And Jesse having a little bit of a different thought about it, decides to back off of Ridge Raider there. Ridge Raider going a little bit sideways, can't hold on to the car. So Ridge Raider gets it wrong coming out of Della Raja there. Going to give Orfano an opportunity to get another easy position there, making his way up into 5th. Ridge Raider dropping down into 6th for now. Chip Reese not far behind, both of them in the McLarens right now. So let's hop back on board with Tom here. Tom and Brooks, the battle starting to hot up for first place. Both drivers coming into Ascari. Half second separating them right now. Looks like Brooks gets a little bit of a better line, a little bit better exit coming out of the corner there. He's starting to get a little bit of a run on Tom the Tech. He's getting a little bit of slipstream there, 3/10 of a second separating them now. Both drivers going to absolutely bomb it into Parabolica here. Hard on the anchors there, both of them making the corner clean. Heavy on the skinny pedal, both of them coming out. Tom's still out in front, but only 3/10 of a second separating them yet. And Tom improving upon his personal best, but still not enough to knock Brooks off the fast lap time for right now. Checking back in with the action back there. Looked like Jesse's able to correct a little bit there. He's starting to close the gap between himself and Rick James there. Rick sitting in 3rd place right now. Both of these drivers coming up to the Rettifio. And Jesse catching just a little bit of the sausage there. Getting the car just a little bit unsettled. Going to lose a little bit of time here. Need to check back in with the guys up front here. Still less than half a second separating Tom and Brooks. Della Raja. Tom getting a little sideways coming out of it. Manages to hold on. Does get a little bit of a better exit out of the Della Raja than Brooks does. Brooks closing the gap to the first of the Lesmos here. Still not letting Tom increase that gap any more than he has to. So 6/10 of a second now. And that gap is decreasing. Same can be said for Rick James here. We got Jesse all over the slip of Rick James right now. 6/10 of a second, getting knocked down 5/10 of a second. Both drivers clean through Ascari. Rick James still holding on to P3. A little bit of a better run out of Ascari there. Is starting to increase that gap between himself and Jesse. Jesse with a healthy gap between himself and Orfano right now. Orfano sitting in 5th. Ridge Raider not far behind. We got Chip Reese here. Chip Reese sitting in 7th. Chip Reese starting to close the gap just a little bit there. Checking back in. 3/10 of a second. Still separating Tom and Brooks right now. Brooks enjoying some free mile per gallon there in the slipstream of Tom. Tom going a little squirrely there as he comes out of the red Fios. Brooks still all over the backside of him there. Both these drivers starting to pull away from the rest of the pack now. So Brooks still too far behind to make any kind of move through the Della Raja. But does go purple, is increasing on his best lap time. It is going to make it harder for anyone else to get that fast lap time. Both drivers clean through Della Raja up through the first of the Lesmos. Both drivers neat and tidy out of Lesmo 2. Brooks just not increasing the gap, not decreasing the gap. 0.4 of a second separating him and Tom. Still less than a second separating Rick James and Jesse. Jesse getting a little bit of a slower run out of Lesmo 2 there, it looks like. Gap is increasing, but just a little bit there. Ridge Raider's going to pick up a 1 second penalty. It's going to give Orfano an opportunity to move up alongside, probably take position as well, because a 1 second penalty in Gran Turismo is more like an eternity. Ridge Raider coming through Ascari, coming out of Ascari. He's going to hit the penalty line. See in the distance up there. Orfano just about 2 seconds behind. Let's see what gap's going to close to here. 6 seconds, 7/10, half a second, 3/8. Orfano making a move along the inside line is going to be able to take over that P5 there. Ridge Raider getting knocked down into P6 due to that 1 second penalty. Runs a little bit wide there through Parabolica. Ridge Raider needing to reset here. He's going to have to try to put on a banger of a lap if he wants to get back within slipstream of Orfano and not let him get away. Meanwhile, we've got Chip Reese rounding out the grid here in 7th. Regardless of where he finishes tonight, he's going to be pretty well away with points here. Check back in with front runners. No change. Half second still separating Tom and Brooks. Brooks living rent-free behind Tom right now, picking up as much slipstream as he can. A little bit of fuel saving to help along the way. You see the bollards there in the middle of the road. So somebody getting it wrong earlier in the race here. 10 minutes down, 50 minutes to go yet in the race, and some great action hotting up for many of the positions here. Still a half second separating these two. And Jesse getting it wrong a little bit along the way there somewhere now. That half second dropping to a 1 second gap, so falling out of the slipstream there a little bit. He's trying to get a little bit better run out of any of these corners if he wants to get back up there and have a little bit of a fight with Rick James here. Check back in with Orfano. So 2.9 separating him and Ridge Raider right now. Orfano making his way back up the pack after dropping to the back of the field at the beginning of the race here. Absolutely throwing the car into Ascari. Doing everything he can to try to close that gap between him and the front runners. Checking back in. Shocker, no change. Half second separating Tom and Brooks right now. Tom with 150.2, still not able to take that fast lap time away from Brooks there. Brooks still sitting in P2 right now. Both drivers keeping him clean through the Rettifio. Still putting distance between themselves and the rest of the pack right now. 8.5 seconds separating Brooks and Rick James right now. Rick James, though, is losing a little bit of time to Jesse right there. It does look like he gets a little bit better run out of the Rettifio there. Starting to increase that gap just a little bit now. 1.1 seconds, not much, but every little bit doesn't help in racing, everybody. Jesse been sitting in P4 comfortably here for a while. 4.5 seconds separating himself and Orfano. 3 second gap separating Orfano and Ridge Raider, and Chip Reese still running our grid down in 7th right there for Victory Base Racing with Blair. Now Brooks has a look along the inside there. They come out of the Lesmo corners there. It looks like we're going to start to have a little bit of action here. Brooks has finally had enough of chase, and he's going to move up alongside, try to take the outside line through Ascari. He's going to think better of it and line up behind Tom there. Brooks just testing the waters there, just seeing what he might be able to get away with. decides to think better of it, that there's plenty of race left, he's going to slide back into second there and go right back to that half-second gap that he's been all night right there behind Tom the Tech. So Rick James still under no threat right now from Jesse. Jesse dropping back a little bit, 1 second, dropping down to 1.7. Is starting to lose a little bit of time to Orfano there as well. Orfano just over 4 seconds separating him and Jesse right now. So really no telling who could be one of the front riders here later on in the race. It's really anybody's game right now. So Tom getting a little bit better run out of one of the corners along the line somewhere. He's now got a second gap separating himself and Brooks. But Brooks getting himself a pretty decent run out of the Rectifio there, starting to drop that gap yet again. Super close racing going on here. Looks like Jesse's fallen off pace just a little bit here. He's got a 2.5 second gap separating himself and Rick James, and also the gap between himself and Orfano starting to drop now. Orfano creeping his way up there. He's going to want to have a go at P4 here shortly as well. Ridge Raider's going to be the first one into the pits here. Interesting strategy from Ridge Raider, pitting super early here. Going to get himself a fresh set of soft tires, full tank of fuel. He does get chip grease opportunity to make his way up into P6 now. Orfano still closing the gap on Jesse now, less than 4 seconds separating both of those drivers. Rick James starting to pull away a little bit there, 2.2 seconds separating himself and Jesse. And Brooks all over the bumper again, and Tom the Tex. We check back in with these guys. Brooks trying everything he can to get the 911 around the Mustang there. Brooks all over the back of the shot of Tom as both drivers hard on the anchors into Parabolica here. No moves from anybody. Tom taking the inside line, move to defend. Brooks slotting in right behind him there. Both drivers keeping it clean through Parabolica. And Tom's into the pits. Tom is into the pits. It's going to have Brooks an absolute fantastic run on him. He's going to make his way up into P1 now. Tom also with the early pit there. We got Rick James going to get the undercut, make his way up into P2. Jesse should be able to make his way up into P3, and does. Orfano's going to make his way up into P4. Now let's see what happens with Chip Reese and Ridge there. Chip coming through Parabolica now. Start-finish line just around the corner here. Doesn't look like it. Tom's going to go ahead and come out of the pits and make his way up to Rectifio first. Sweaty Kanji with the follows earlier. Appreciate you guys. We inch closer to the goal, everybody. We appreciate you. So Tom jumping down into fifth. Is one of the first ones to pit though. Brooks with a 7-second gap separating himself and Rick James right now. Rick James getting himself up into second place with the undercut there, increasing that gap to him and Jesse even more. Jesse picking up a half-second penalty, not doing himself any favors because he's got Orfano less than a second behind him right now. Hot on his tail. He is falling into the slipstream. Still closing the gap between himself and Jesse. Jesse's going to have to concede P3 here. He's going to have to take this penalty. Orfano eating up as much of the slipstream as he can. Orfano making his way up into P3 now. Orfano keeping it clean and tidy throughout the race, not picking up many penalties. Is able to get some of the easy positions from some of the other drivers that are picking up the penalties here tonight. Orfano pushing for that fast lap, a 150.2, not going to be able to improve upon his best, a 150.1. Still Brooks sitting on fast lap pointage right now with that 150 flat. Still got Jesse sitting down in fourth place, 14-second gap increasing between himself and Tom. Tom sitting out in fifth in front of Chip Reese. Chip Reese down in sixth right now, making his way ahead of Ridge Raider. Ridge the first one here to pit tonight. Interesting strategy from everybody. Who do y'all think's got the win here tonight? I'm pretty sure I know who the VPRs are going to say, and I'm pretty sure I know who the Foxes are going to say, but Let's take a stab in the dark here. Who's got the win tonight? Because we got Brooks with an 8-second gap out in front, increasing that gap between himself and Rick James right now. Rick James sitting in second place. Morfano down in third for now. The majority of these drivers still needing to pit up front here, it looks like. These fuel tanks are starting to run dry for all three. Interesting to see what kind of play here we get. These three drivers. So Brooks still increasing that gap. 8.7 seconds separating himself from Rick James. Rick James trying to increase his gap between Morfano, who's barreling his way through the field after dropping down to last in the first part of the race. He's back up into third, yet still having to pit. Jesse having to pit as well. Jesse picking up a penalty along the way, having to give up that podium for now up to Morfano. Tom, one of the other first ones here to pit tonight, picking up a fresh set of soft tires, filling up the tank. He's making a push on Jesse there. And now we've got Brooks diving into the pits. So Brooks is going to be the first of the front runners to give up, and he's going to go ahead and pit first. Rick James is going to stay out for a little while longer. Rick James is going to be the new front runner here to take P1 tonight. Morfano's going to stay out as well. Morfano's sitting in P2. We've got Jesse down in P3. And the real question is, where is Tom going to come out here? So Tom, looks like Tom's going to get the undercut. And Tom also takes fast lap by 8 thousandths of a second to a 150-point flat. Is absolutely incredible. Brooks comes out right behind him there, 3 seconds separating him and Tom now. Brooks picking up some medium tires. Not going to be able to have as much grip and as much exit as Tom's going to have. Just going to have to see what the play is here throughout the rest of this race. Chippery's still staying out in those medium tires he's got on. He's sitting in 6th right now, healthy gap between himself and Ridge Raider. Ridge Raider coming through the red Tafio now. So checking back in with front runners. Rick James sitting out in front, 3 seconds separating himself from Morfano. Morfano making his way up into 2nd now with the undercut. We've got Jesse undercutting his way up into 3rd. Tom going, ooh, just a little bit wide there with the cold tire. That's giving Brooks an opportunity to start closing that delta there a little bit. Tom the Tech does manage to hold on coming out of the Lesmans, comes up to the Ascari now. Tom clean through Ascari, is starting to increase that gap just a little bit between himself and Brooks. Brooks not on the stickier compound tire. Now Morfano goes into the pits. Jesse right behind him going into the pits. Big question, where's Brooks going to come out in all this? Tom and Brooks both coming back into P2 and P3 now. Chippery's going to make his way up into P4 now. Chippery's still staying out there in the Victory Pace Racing McLaren, putting down some consistent lap times, making his way up from the back of the field into P4. But hot on his tails is Morfano. Morfano just now coming out of the pits. He's got a full tank of fuel, fresh set of medium tires. And Ridge Raider getting it just a little bit wrong there through the red Tafio. That delta increasing just a little bit there between himself and Morfano. And we got Jesse down in P7. Jesse, last one to come out of the pits there. Fresh set of soft tires, full tank of fuel. So 18-second gap. Nears makes no difference. 19-second gap separating himself and Ridge Raider. Or I'm sorry, Rick James and Tom the Tech. Rick James being one of the last ones to pit. Y'all can't see it on your screen, but his fuel light is shouting at him. He is going to have to go into the pits here and fuel up. So let's see if Tom and Brooks are going to be able to get undercuts here on Rick James and make their way back up into P1 and P2 respectively. Tom and Brooks, both of them out of Ascari up to Parabolica. James just now getting up to his pit crew as Tom comes out of Parabolica, gets ready to cross the start-finish line. He is going to get the undercut here. Going to make his way out in front of Rick James back into P1. Brooks making his way back into P2 now. So the undercut working out for both of these drivers here. Let's see what's going to happen with the Ridge Raider. Ridge Raider not able to capitalize, get the undercut there, and now he's under severe pressure from Orfano. Orfano less than a second on his tail now. Both drivers hard on the anchors as they come through the Rettifio. And Ridge Raider gets it wrong. Ridge Raider catching Italy's favorite sausage, not able to hold on to the car. Gets it a little bit sideways, loses the gap, and is going to lose P5 to Jesse there. More than likely, Jesse getting a little bit better run out of the Rettifio, keeping it straight, and he is going to take P5 there, but just barely. Ridge Raider sliding right into the slipstream there, Jesse. Ridge Raider Dirty Tires is getting it a little bit wide there and a little bit squirrely through the Della Raja. But Jesse picking up a half-second penalty now through the Della Raja. He's going to have to serve that here when he comes out of Ascari. Both drivers keeping it clean through both of the Lesmos. Jesse with a 2-second gap to himself and Ridge Raider right now. Doesn't look like Ridge is going to be able to get the run on this lap with only a half-second penalty, but it should bring him a little bit closer. Might bring him here within slipstream range. Let's hop on board, see how close he gets as they both approach the Parabolica. See that distance closing right now. Now dropping down to just barely a second, separating all the drivers now. Down to P6 and Chip Grease dropping back down into P7 coming out of the pits. We're 25 minutes down in the race, 35 minutes to go. It's an incredible action from just 7 drivers here tonight. Well done with these guys. Tom with a 5-second gap out in front of Brooks, but Brooks with a 13-second gap between himself and Rick James. Rick James 4 seconds separating himself and Orfano. Same can be said, 4 seconds separating him and Jesse, but now Jesse still under pressure from Ridge Raider, less than a second separating them now. Staying on board with these two here. This is where they got it wrong here early, and Jesse picking up a half-second penalty. Separating level. Ridge Raider picking up a half-second penalty there. More than likely picking it up on the exit of the Della Raja. The Ridge Raider with all the hard work trying to stay within the slipstream of Jesse. All that's going to be for naught, but we are still less than halfway through this race here, so anything can happen right now. Chip Reese here still rounding out our grid down in 7th place, still going to be finishing in points tonight. But like I said, Temple of Speed is an unforgiving track, and now we've got Tom going 149.9, just barely increasing on his best lap time again now. Still 5.5 seconds separating himself from Brooks, and Brooks still enjoying that 14-second gap between himself and Rick James. Orfano with a 4-second gap on either side of him, starting to run some of his own laps here. Not really increasing or decreasing the gap between himself and Orfano, but he is starting to increase his gap between himself and Jesse, who's now once again back under pressure from Ridge Raider. Ridge serving his half-second penalty before going into Parabolica earlier. Once again, staying on board with them. This is where Ridge Raider got it wrong earlier here. Manages to hold on through the Rettifio. Doesn't get quite the same exit that Jesse does. So Jesse now second ahead of Ridge Raider. Jesse still sitting in P5, makes his way around the ballers. through the Della Raja. No penalties for either drivers here this time around. They managed to keep it clean. Less than a second now separating Ridge Raider and Jesse. It seems like the battle going on right now is for P5. Ridge Raider falling within the slipstream range as they come out of the Lesmo corners and into the straightaway up to Ascari. And Jesse also starting to close the gap on Orfano just a little bit there. You see Orfano just off in the distance there coming out of Ascari. Both drivers come out of Ascari now, less than a half second separating Ridge Raider and Jesse. Ridge trying to get a little bit of a run there up to Parabolica. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it, so he's going to slide into the slipstream there as both drivers get ready to get hard on the anchors, go hard into Parabolica now. Jesse getting a little bit wrong there, going just a little bit wide. Ridge Raider has a look along the inside there. This is what we look for. Here we go. We've got a drag race out of Parabolica. Ridge Raider's going to have the inside line going up to the Rettifio. Ridge Raider trying to pick up a little bit more slipstream. Jesse, a little bit of a wide defend there. Ridge Raider making his way along the inside line. He's going to make his way up into P5 now. You see Jesse absolutely pushing out of the Rettifio there. It's only a half second separating him here. Ridge Raider making his way up into P5 and an inside line through the Rettifio. Well done. Raider getting all kinds of love in the chat right now. We absolutely love to see it, guys. Still a half second though separating him and Jesse, so the fight's not over yet. Raider gives it every bit of traction supported to him. Looks like it's paying off for him as well, getting a little bit better run out of the first Lesmo there and out of the second Lesmo now. Over a second separating himself and Jesse, so a little bit of breathing room between those two right now. And the gap between them and Orfano still dwindling yet now. 3.5 seconds separating him. Rick James with an 8-second gap between himself and Brooks. Brooks dropping off just a little bit now, and Tom starting to run ahead with it now. 15 seconds separating him and Brooks falling off now. 7 seconds separating him and Rick James, so it looks like he's gone in the opposite direction here. But Brooks still sitting in P2, having an excellent race here tonight. Rick James as well having a great race. He's sitting on podium in P3 for right now. 30 minutes down, we are halfway through the race, everybody. Orfano in 4th place, making his way up through the grid after not a lucky start for himself there. And Ridge Raider getting a great line through the Rettifio, making his way up into 5th. Knocking Jesse down to 6th. We still got VPR's Chip Reese down there in 7th, rounding out our grid. Brooks getting it wrong again throughout somewhere here. That 7-second gap dwindled to a 1.5 seconds now. Brooks going from the soft to the medium tires. Those tires not doing him any favors, not getting as much grip as he wants through the corners. You can see him taking a slow line there through the Della Raja. And Rick James getting all over the back of the bumper there, 0.2 of a second, separating Brooks and Rick James. Now Rick James has a look along the outside. Brooks goes to the fence, going to push it wide though. Rick James stays along the outside though. Wants to have a look along the inside there. He's going to think better of it as they come out of the second Lesmo there. Brooks keeping it tidy, but Rick James right on the bumper still. He's going to get the slipstream there. He wants to have a look along the inside there. Brooks defending. Brooks making his way over to the outside of the racing line, giving Rick James opportunity to make his way along the inside line there. Have the inside for the corner. And that is going to give him the advantage. So Rick James making his way up into 2nd place, knocking down into P3. And Orfano hot on the tail now. 1.9 seconds separating him and Orfano. Now Ridge Raider, 3.1 seconds between himself and Orfano. Now less than 3 seconds as he gets a great run into and out of Parabolica here. Ridge Raider doing a fantastic job with the Flying Fox McLaren right now, increasing that gap between himself and Jesse, and trying to make his way up to Orfano there. Orfano dropping off Brooks just a little bit there, 2 seconds. Brooks getting a little bit better run out of the Rettifio there. He's within the slipstream of Rick James there. So let's see if Brooks can go ahead and battle it out and get his P2 back here from Rick James. And Brooks goes 3/10. Purple to the fastest lap there. Wow, incredible. Picking up all the slipstream there from in front of Rick James. Starting to find a little more confidence on the medium tires there. Keeps it clean through the first Lesmo. Keeps it clean through the second Lesmo. Loses a little bit of time there, Rick James, but still no worry. He's got 2 seconds separating himself and Orfano. That gap not really changing at all. Orfano down in P4. Ridge Raider getting ready to come through down in P5. We've got Jesse making his way up. He's in P6 right now. Chip Reese getting it wrong there, coming out of coming out of Curva Grande. Chip Reese, though, keeping the car pointed in the right direction, which is difficult enough to do as it is. Keeps it clean through the Bella Raja there. Keeps the car pointed in the right direction. We've got Tom way out in front now. 149.4 is the fast lap. Pushing hard, but the fuel is starting to show for it now. Rick James still down in P2. We've got Orfano now in P3. Let's see what happened with Brooks. Looks like Brooks got it wrong somewhere earlier on his previous lap. He's getting knocked down into P6 now. He's got an 8-second gap separating him and Jesse. So Orfano's going to make his way up into P3. Ridge Raider making his way up to P4. And Jesse moving up into P5. Unfortunate for Brooks, running an outstanding race up into that point. But we still have 25 minutes left of racing. Anything can happen to anybody at any time. It's called commentator's curse. Let's check in with Tom. The 26-second gap ahead of himself and Rick James right now. With Tom absolutely burning through every ounce of fuel that Mustang can drink. He is going to have to probably pit sooner than anybody else here. Let's have a look. So I got Rick James with a half tank of fuel. Orfano over a quarter tank of fuel right now. Ridge Raider's going to have to pit soon. Jesse has no worries. Brooks has no worries. And Chip Reese has no worries. We are going to see some serious position changes here within the next few laps or so. Starting to increase his gap to Orfano now, 4 seconds separating both the drivers. Ridge Raider starting to creep up on Orfano now, less than 3 seconds. You can see that gap start dwindling. Ridge Raider gets a little bit better run out of Parabolica there. Orfano keeping it clean through the Rettifio. Still a 2.5-second gap separating him and Ridge Raider, but Ridge Raider looks like he gets just a little bit of a better run out of it. But still that 2.5-second gap not really changing. Ridge Raider sitting in 4th place. He does have just a second separating himself and Ridge Raider now. Jesse with a 9-second gap to him and Brooks. Chip Reese still rounding out our grid down in 7th now. Boost! Checking back in, top of the grid. Tom still pulling away with this one. Fuel Light shouting at him right now. No shot he's going to be able to do another lap here as he's hard on the accelerator up to Parabolica. Rick James, 27-second gap. Let's see what kind of pit delta we're going to get here. When Tom dives in, we got Chip Reese also diving into the pits here again. So let's see what Tom's going to do. Tom going to pit or is Tom going to push? So Tom's into the pits. Let's see what Rick James has got. Rick James just now coming out of a Ascari. changing the tires, just now getting fuel. Let's see if Rick's going to have enough time to get the undercut here. So Rick James, out of Parabolica, crossing start-finish line, is going to be able to get an undercut here. So Tom getting knocked down in second. Tom knocked down. Ooh, Tom coming out of the pits here. Let's see if he's going to be able to stay ahead of Orfano. No, Orfano just getting the undercut on Tom. There's Tom just now coming out of the pits. We've also got Ridge Raider and Brooks diving into the pits as well. Jesse making his way up into fourth now. Rick James, 3-second gap separating him and Orfano now. Rick James trying to increase that. Keeps it clean through the De La Roja. Orfano starting to get a bit of a push there. Half second dropped off. James starting to get a little bit cleaner there now. 3-second gap again now, separating him and Orfano. Orfano pushing hard in the 911 though. He's got a 2-second gap on either side of him. Tom dropping down into third after pitting. You got Jesse down in fourth right now. Still have yet to pit. Ridge Raider coming out of the pits now. Fresh Everything. He's in fifth right now. Same to be said for Brooks on Fresh Everything. He's in sixth right now. And you got Chippery starting to decrease his gap to everybody. One of the first ones to pit, wondering if he's going for the long strat here. Still a little bit over 20 minutes of racing yet here. Rick James still increasing that gap. 3.5 seconds now separating him and Orfano. Orfano losing a little bit of time to Tom there. Tom running a little bit stickier compound tire than Orfano is. Sitting in P2, Tom sitting in P3, Jesse creeping his way back closer towards Tom. He's sitting in P4 right now. 33 seconds separating Ridge and Jesse right now. Orfano's got the fuel light shouting at him. He's going to have to go into the pits on this lap. Behind, still decreasing that gap little by little there. Orfano getting a little bit better run out of the Lesmos there. Starting to increase that gap between himself and Tom. Some great racing from the AM drivers tonight. Rick James still sitting out in P1 as he barrels towards the Parabolica. Orfano not far behind, but having to pit. It's going to give Tom an opportunity to move up into P3, running on basically a fresh set of everything. He's going to be able to stay out for the rest of the race, more than likely. Tom making his way up into P2. Jesse's going to make his way up into P3. Now the play here is going to be Ridge Raider and Orfano. Ridge Raider just now coming out of Ascari and up to Parabolica. Orfano still getting fuel. He's coming out of the pits. It looks like he is going to be able to stay ahead of Ridge for now. As you can see, Orfano there in the distance. Ridge Raider's tires a little bit more warmed up though. Stay on board and see what happens with them. So Brooks still sitting down in P6 right now. He's got a 16-second gap separating him and Refrigerator. Brooks getting it wrong here a little bit earlier on in the race. Unfortunate for him after trailing less than a second behind Tom most of the evening. Rick James still staying out on worn soft tires here. He's still got a 4.8 second gap separating him and Tom. Tom sitting in P2, increasing his gap just a little bit to Jesse. Jesse getting a little bit better run out of Scary there. He's going to hold on to that 3.5 second gap, not letting it grow, but also not shrinking it really too much right now. So Jesse, fuel light shouting at him, is going to have to pit here. So next undercut play, let's see what's going to happen with Orfano. So 33-second gap wasn't enough for Richard to be able to capitalize. This 29-second gap going to be able to be enough for Orfano to capitalize on Jesse here. As predicted, Jesse diving into the pits. New tires, new fuel. Less than 17 minutes left of racing. Tires swaps. Jesse still getting fuel in the car. Orfano coming out of Parabolica now. Orfano's going to get the undercut on Jesse. Jesse still filling up the car. Just now coming out of the pits. Ooh, here we go. We're going to be side by side as we come into the red field, but Orfano getting a little bit of a better run. Jesse picking up the inside line here. Orfano just barely getting the undercut on Jesse here. Jesse hitting the sausage curb coming out of the Redifio. 1 second separating both of these drivers now. Here we go, Rick James still sitting out in front. Creeping up there, still 4.5 second gap though, separating Rick James and Tom Attack right now. Tom's enjoying P2 for right now, 34 second gap separating him and Orfano. Tom now down to less than 3/4 of a tank of fuel already after pitting. James does still have to pit as the chat is predicting. It's going to give Tom opportunity to move in front, but I'm just sitting here trying to calculate just a little bit. He went into the pits only 4 laps ago. 15 minutes left, 12 laps. Is he going to have enough fuel to finish the race? James getting some fresh tires, a little bit of a splash and dash there. It is going to stay ahead of Orfano, just barely. Orfano come barreling down up to the Rectifio that Rick James is just now getting out of. So massive gap dropped down now, just 9.5 seconds separating him. Now less than 9 seconds separating him. Sitting in P4 for most of the night, running a fairly clean race here. Very consistent with the lap times. Rich Raider knocked down into 5th. Brooks having himself a little bit of an issue throughout the race here. He's sitting down in 6th place right now. And Chippery still knocking away the time there. Gonna enjoy P7 points, at least for right now. Seconds, Tom with the gap. Tom here looking like he's going through about 1/8 of a tank of fuel every lap, or maybe more. He's pushing right now. Starting to creep up on Chip Reese there. Chip Reese increasing his gap to Orfano now. Or I'm sorry, Rick James increasing his gap to Orfano, 7.5 seconds separating him. Orfano with a 3-second gap to himself and Jesse. Ridge Raider now starting to creep up on Jesse now, 2.5 seconds separating these drivers. Everyone's starting to close up a little bit and start packing up a little bit as we start to get closer towards the end of the race here. And Tom burning through the dinosaur juice as he's hard on the anchors into the Della Roja. Rick James maintaining that 25-second gap now. Rick James still sitting out in P2. He's only got a half tank of fuel, running a little bit lighter though. It's going to give him a little bit better lap time. Still 3 seconds separating Orfano and Jesse. Jesse here still running clean down there, P4, and Ridge Raider still running clean in P5. Ridge Raider going blue there, starting to improve on his personal lap times now. Keeps it clean for the Della Roja. There we go, Brooks running a personal best on his previous lap, 149.7, getting dangerously close to that fast lap time Tom said earlier of 149.4. Now Chippery's starting to get the blue flag of destiny there. Plenty of distance though between himself and Tom right now. Tom 26 seconds separating him. Only half a tank of fuel left. 11 minutes to go. He's not going to be able to do it. This is my prediction. Tom does not have the fuel for this. Tom, though, pushing that Flying Fox Mustang as hard as he can. He is increasing the gap between himself and Rick James now, 27.5 seconds. Was 25 last time we checked in. Rick James now 6 seconds separating him and Orfano. Orfano still with that 3-second gap between himself and Jesse. Ridge Raider still less than 3 seconds behind, sitting there in 5th. Brooks starting to fall off the pace there a little bit, 15 seconds turning into 16. Chip still getting the blues there. Oh, he gets it a little bit wrong coming out of Ascari there. He's going to pick up a half-second penalty. No more free air for Tom. Ooh. Penalty served on next lap. Lucky for Tom there. He's going to pick up a little more slipstream. But as you see, 27 seconds now dropping down into the 26s. Rick James more than enough fuel and tire to finish this race. Still trying to push the Mustang, might be going down to a different fuel saving setting. They're not running the same kind of top speed on the front straightaway as he was earlier in the race here. Can be reflected as you look at the delta up there now. Barely 26 seconds separating him and Rick James now. 9 minutes left to go in racing. Orfano still 6 seconds behind of Rick James, but 3 seconds ahead of Jesse. Ridge Raider falling off just a little bit there. 2-second gap dropping down to 4 seconds. Ridge Raider losing a little bit of time there as well. As you can see that being made up. Brooks now 13 seconds from that 17-second gap he had. Ridge Raider getting it just a little bit wrong there through the Rectifio. Does manage to keep the car pointed right in the right direction there. He's going to go ahead and continue on. It's still losing a little bit of distance between himself and Jesse, and Brooks starting to pick up another second there off the delta. Ridge Raider still losing a little bit of time to Jesse there, and Brooks starting to gain some momentum there now, less than 10 seconds separating him and Ridge Raider for just a couple laps. Let's check back in with Tom though. Tom does manage to get around Chip Reese though, 25 seconds separating him and Rick James. We have just about 7 minutes left in this race here. James pushes across the line up to the Rettifio. Ooh, Rick James going a little bit wide, thinks about taking the escape road. And he goes wide through the second part of the Rettifio there. That's going to give Orfano a great run on him here. Closing that gap there. Now 1.3 seconds, 1.2 seconds separating him. Rick James trying to clean off those dirty tires there before he gets into the De La Roja. Ooh, and Rick James not quite the solid exit that Orfano had. Now 0.7 of a second separating them. Both drivers coming through the first of the Lesmos. Rick James getting a little bit better exit, gets a little bit of breathing room between himself and Orfano, but not much for right now. As you can see, Jesse just there in the foreground coming out of the second Lesmo now, starting to decrease his gap between himself and Orfano. We got Ridge Raider down in P5 right now, 10 seconds separating him and Brooks. Brooks trying everything he can to make up as many positions as he can. So it's just 5.5 minutes of racing left here. Stay on board with Rick James here as battles for P2 starting to heat up just a little bit here. Orfano. Where's Orfano? Orfano, cheeky little move there along to the pit wall, manages to sneak that fast lap time away from Tom there, running a 1:49.3. He secures himself a fast lap point for right now. Tom still sitting out in front, 27-second gap. Separating him and Rick James. Now Rick James coming under pressure from Orfano again, only 0.3 of a second separating him. Still all over the back of the bumpers. Both drivers coming through the De La Roja. Quarter of a tank fuel left for Tom. Orfano still all over the back bumper of Rick James there. Rick James not giving up without a fight. He's defending all the right lines there. Orfano sliding into the slipstream there, trying to pick up a little bit of time there. Rick James starting to get some support in the chat there. 27-second gap is starting to dwindle a little bit. So less than a quarter tank now for Tom. 3 minutes of racing left. Probably is going to have enough fuel to finish out the race. Just a matter of is he going to have enough pace to keep the gap between himself and Rick James. Now 26.5 seconds since the last time we just mentioned it a second ago. But Rick James is still under pressure from Orfano. Orfano sitting in the slipstream right now. Rick James with drivers crossing start-finish line up to the Rettifio. Ooh, a little bit of a love tap from Orfano right there. Once Rick James get a little move on through the Rettifio. Still sitting within the slipstreams. Both drivers come through the Curva Grande. Still within the slipstream, 0.3 of a second. Both drivers hard on the anchors as they come up to the De La Roja. Still Rick James out in front defending the Apexes. Out of the De La Rosa and into the Ascaris. 6 seconds separating Orfano and Jesse right now. Tom still managing to find a little bit of time though as Rick James has to defend and not be able to hold on to the fastest lines right now. Rick James getting just a little bit of a better exit out of the Lesmos there. 7/10 of a second though. Orfano still within the slipstream right now. Jesse still 6 seconds off of Orfano right now. The Ridge Raider though picking up a half-second penalty is only 3 seconds off of Jesse. He's got 10 seconds yet, still separating him and Brooks. Brooks still sitting down in P. Steve right now. BPR's Chippery's rounding out the grid in P7. Is going to finish in the points here tonight. And Tom sitting out in front. 1/8 of a tank of fuel left. Minute and a half left of racing. And Rick James sitting in P2, still defending with his life in the Haltech Mercedes against Orfano in the 911 there. Half second still yet separating these drivers here. Orfano going just a little bit wide. The tire squeal there is losing just a little bit of time to Rick James. Getting a little bit better exit out of the corner though. Still a half second separating both of the drivers right now. Both drivers still managing to keep decent race pace while they're having themselves some battles, not giving Jesse an opportunity to close that gap. Still 6 seconds separating him. The Ridge Raider dropping back to a 5-second gap, serving the half-second penalty here as he came out of Scari. Now Brooks 8 seconds separating him after Ridge Raider serves his penalty. And Brooks taking that fast lap back with a 149 flat. Decent soft tires and nearly empty tank of fuel helping out there. Brooks that fast lap point for right now with a 149 flat. Tom. Ooh, 149 for almost a half second. Taking that fast lap time. Good for him. Orfano makes his way up into P2, makes his way around Rick James. Rick James still all over the back there. Wants to have him move along the inside there through the second of the Lesmos. Isn't able to make it stick. He's going to have to slot in behind Orfano there. Orfano making his way up into P2 for now. It's the last lap for both these drivers. Oh, looks like it's going to be the last lap for all drivers. We cross the 1 hour mark now. So now race is finished. Tom Tech's going to go ahead and take home P1 tonight. Congratulations to him. We still have a battle hotting up here for P2 though. Rick James trying to have a look all over any line that he can. Parabolica being the last corner here. Let's see what Rick James is going to do. Or is Orfano going to try to defend the inside line? Ooh, Rick James shagging it up the inside there. They go wheel to wheel, door to door there. Rick James trying to get a run through Parabolica. Rick James managing to hold on along that inside line there. Orfano just barely leaving the door open. Rick James taking P2 away from Orfano. Orfano going to finish in P3 here tonight. Jesse finishing in P4. Ridge Raider not far behind. He's going to finish in P5. And Brooks going to round out our grid here tonight in P6. What an incredible battle for P2 that was, everybody. Let's get some W's in the chat there. That was an insane move. Let's have a look at our grid one more time here tonight in their times. So Tom's finishing out in front. Got Rick James sitting in second. Orfano sitting in P3. Jesse in P4. Ridge Raider P5. Got Brooks in P6. And Chip Reitz rounding out our grid here. He's going to be finishing in P7. All drivers finishing in the points tonight. So everybody, we're going to go ahead and save this replay. Take a quick break. And we're going to go ahead and get this lobby set up for Pro-Am. Don't go anywhere. Y'all stay tuned.